by the spectacular youngster, Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Big Cunny on Twitter. What's shaking today, my friend?
Not too much. Yeah, nothing new. What about you, Troy?
Well, I always got a little tidbit, you know. Always got something to throw out there. So, normal day of work. Just a normal day of work, right? However, I have 2 chargers for my devices for work. One at home that I constantly leave in my bedroom so that I can charge it overnight. And then I leave one in the car. And so this morning, I get in the car. I usually don't have to charge my devices on the way to work because I've charged them overnight, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably about 8:30 in the morning. Been working for a couple hours. Got to keep my iPad charged because of the apps that I run with my work. It constantly drains the battery.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, I don't know if it was doing the show. I don't know if it was from when I got cut off and had to slam my brakes on last week. But got a little kink in my car charger, a little short in the wire. So I was riding around all day having to hold the car charger, like pinch it, while I charge my iPad. Yeah, not very fun when you have a 5-speed. It's very hard to shift and hold a car charger while you're trying to charge your iPad. So with that said, if you lose me, it's not because I didn't feel like talking. It's because my phone's going to die because I didn't get a chance to charge my phone today. I'm at like 50%. I should be fine for the show, but I don't know. So
we'll keep it moving.
There's my little tidbit for the Monday afternoon. What a weekend, though, in the Big Ten, youngster. What a weekend. You had asked me last week on the show, and I tweeted this out, and then I tweeted the link out to last week's show. You asked me if I thought Michigan was going to be 27-0 when they played Michigan State, and my response was a calm, cool, there will be a blemish somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Well, their blemish happened this weekend, and it happened at the Kohl Center in Madison, Wisconsin. And we're definitely going to talk about that. But let's get right into our youngster like we always do. We're going to go through the AP Top 25, and there is some movement going on here. It's going to be a fun show.
Yes, there has been some movement, and I am a Duke Blue Devils fan, and Duke beat Virginia. Virginia was the number 4 team in the country. Duke was number 1. Duke beat Virginia, and they are now down to number 2 because Tennessee, I was checking before, they beat like Arkansas or something, and that their last like 4 or 5 opponents haven't been ranked, but Tennessee keeps winning, and so I don't necessarily understand. I do have to watch Duke Virginia taped. I DVR'd it because I knew I was going to miss it. So maybe like Virginia should have won the game and Duke magically won it. But regardless, I don't know how Duke got jumped somehow after beating Virginia and Tennessee.
Well, it was a loss to Syracuse, my friend.
Was that the same week, though?
I believe
Am I missing?
So. Wasn't it at
when
the
was
beginning
this game?
of the week?
You might be 100% correct, actually. Yeah, that was Monday night. So, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Yep.
It was the night that we recorded the show. That's why they fell. Because the whole talk was that Michigan was going to be number 1 after they took care of Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin had something to say with that. And then they were talking about, well, Virginia can move up to number 1 by beating Duke. Well, that didn't happen either. So you kind of got a team at number 1 in my mind, Kevin, that just got there because of luck. I don't think they're the number 1 team in the country. I don't think you're going to see them sit there forever. But I think in the voters' mind, they couldn't leave Duke at number 1 after losing to Syracuse. Even though they came back with a huge win over Virginia, I just don't think the voters thought that they could leave Duke at 1 having a loss this week. At least that's my thought.
No, yeah. That explains it perfectly to me. That Syracuse game happened freaking 3 weeks ago. That's what it seems like. I remember watching that. And
well, that's because you just want to put it out of your mind.
That's probably true, but
you just want to brush that one under the rug, but it's the blemish. There's a blemish. It doesn't matter how great of a team you are. You have those games. Sometimes you get a little lucky at the end. But you look at all these great teams, Kevin, that have either went to the tournament undefeated, 1 or 2 losses. You could go down that schedule and say, you know what, they got real lucky in that game. And sometimes you just don't get lucky at the end and you lose. Or you have that one game that you get outplayed. It happens. There's so many games. And it's not just basketball, it's any sport. I mean, you look right now, we're in the NFL playoffs, and you look at the Patriots who are in the Super Bowl, the Rams who are in the Super Bowl, and honestly, I know this is a Big Ten show, but this is relevant. Rams are in the Super Bowl. Green Bay Packers, as poor as they were this year, went out to L.A., and they had a chance to win that game, but Ty Montgomery decided to take the ball out of the end zone and return it, and then he fumbles, and the Rams win the game.
Right.
To me, the Rams got lucky. Aaron Rodgers would have had the ball with 2 minutes left, and he wasn't playing that bad. But that was a game the Packers could have won. The Rams got a little lucky at the end. Every good team has one. They didn't play great football that game. They still ended up getting a win, but the Packers also aided in that victory. So I wanted to throw that out there, like we're going to talk about Michigan today, going to Wisconsin. Do I think, oh, my God, Michigan sucks now? No. I still think they're the best team in the Big Ten. Maybe Michigan State, some people can argue. I just like Michigan. They've got a very good team. They had a blemish on their record. Same thing with Duke, Kevin. They lost to Syracuse. Do I think they suck? No. They're one of the best teams in the country. They had a bad game. That's all it is. So take it away.
Yeah, Duke was also without 2 starters in that game. Their point guard, Trey Jones, went out with an injury in the first 5 minutes. And he is a monstrous part. People talk about the other 3 guys, like literally the top 3 recruits for 2019, like coming in. And that, they had number 1, number 2, number 3, all 3 top recruits. People talk about them. Trey Jones was 15, something like that. So still basically a 5-star guy, but just not as hyped. He's the point guard. He's the leader. He's got, he is the guy that makes that offense go, despite not averaging 30 a game like some of the other guys. But he is 100% instrumental in what Duke does. And so to not have him and to not have the number 3 overall recruit, your number 3 player, not in that game, that's your starting backcourt. Boom, gone. So you take that away against Syracuse in that lengthy zone, things might get a little dicey. And they did. And Duke lost in overtime. So, is what it is. The point guard, Trey Jones, is supposed to be back soon. So that saves Duke's lives, in my opinion. I think Duke with Trey Jones is the best team in the country. I think without him, they would not win the title. No doubt in my mind. That's still with their top 3 players, so to say, quote unquote. But without their point guard leader, they would not win the title. I think knowing that he's going to be coming back now, that, they're the most complete team. They're the most talented team, I should say, in the country. So, Tennessee being number 1 right now, I think very highly of Tennessee. I think they're at the worst a very, very, very strong 2 seed. But I would take Duke healthy, Gonzaga healthy, probably Michigan State healthy over Tennessee. And then I might have Tennessee probably as the 5th best team. I would have them over any other team outside of probably those 4. But I really do think that highly of Michigan and Michigan State, even though Michigan just lost. I think North Carolina is a little underappreciated at 11, but I think Tennessee is a really good team that could win the whole thing. But, like you said, they're number 1 because of a couple things falling their way. So you have to be in position to fall into the laps of number 1 in the country as well. So they're pretty good. But anyway, Tennessee 1, Duke 2, Virginia 3. Gonzaga 4, and then you got Michigan down at 5 because they dropped from 2 after their loss to Wisconsin, like Troy mentioned, and Michigan State's right behind them at 6. So Michigan 5, Michigan State 6. Nevada is winning as they usually do outside of that one blemish, which I thought they were going to go perfect, so they made me look stupid there. But Nevada 7, Kentucky 8. They're starting to figure things out. Kansas down at 9. They lost one of their bigs a couple weeks ago for the year. that definitely hurt them. Virginia Tech is up at 10. So that rounds out the top 10. But Maryland went from 19 to 13 this past week. Maryland just keeps chugging along and keeps winning games.
Well,
and Maryland is 16-3. Yeah, absolutely. Maryland's at 13. We'll obviously talk about them in the show. But Marquette at 12, Troy. Marquette's all the way up to number 12. They're a fun team to watch. And I bring that up because both Troy and I basically know each other because we grew up in, well, so to say, I somewhat grew up in Wisconsin. But so we have a little rooting interest.
Well, we attended the same college. I mean, some of the loyal listeners probably know that, but maybe some of our newer listeners don't know that. We attended the same college. But the reason the show is called The Youngster and Old Man, folks, there's a 20-year gap in between attendance dates.
Yeah. A little different.
Yeah. But. So we attended the same school, just in different decades. Yeah. And it's all good, though. It's all good. School's still the same. I mean, there's some changes. Like, when you were there was laptops and cell phones, and when I was there was mainframes. Do they even still have the mainframe building there? Probably not. The computer lab. You probably don't even know what I'm talking about, youngster.
No, I don't.
You probably have no clue.
There are numerous computer labs at the university, so the mainframe computer lab, I have no idea.
Well, they probably tore it down, but I thought maybe they'd make like a little museum out of that thing.
I don't know.
We got a show to do. I'm not going to get into it and explain it to you. But, yeah, you used to have to hook up to a network, and that's where you'd go to type your papers. We didn't have these darn laptops when I was in college.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk about that later. Maryland at 13. Iowa down at 19. They moved up 4 slots. So you got, 4 teams in the Big Ten in the top 20. And then that is it for the top 25. So it's down to 4 at this point. At one point we had 7, I think, and we had 10 receiving votes as a whole. Let me count it now. There's 5 Purdue's receiving votes, Nebraska, Wisconsin. That's 3, and then I think that's it because Indiana's not even receiving votes anymore. So there's only 7 teams receiving votes right now. Indiana's, probably just on the outside looking in. They were in the top 25 last week, and then they went 0-2. So they're not even receiving votes right now. But there are a couple teams that are definitely pooing the bed, as Troy likes to say. Indiana, one of them. Ohio State is another. Ohio State came into the season probably more highly regarded than both Troy and I thought. I think they're a solid team, but they were in the top 20, I'm pretty sure, for a couple weeks there. And they have lost 4 straight games. So, as has Indiana.
That's when they were unwrapping their cupcakes.
Yeah. Little sprinkles, little chocolate frosting. Ohio State was getting that done.
They were devouring their cupcakes, and they were winning some games. But that's what you got to do. I mean, I do make light of it, but you have to do it. If you don't do it, you're not going to make the tournament. So it's there. It's part of college basketball. I have to deal with it. I make fun of that early season schedule a lot of times because it's mainly made up of cupcakes. But you have to win. And if you don't, you're in big trouble. But Ohio State, and we're going to talk a little more in depth when we get into the games. But man, they are walking on the edge of the cliff right now. They are walking very close to the edge of that cliff. But carry on, my friend.
Yeah, they're 12-5. Indiana's 12-6. That's you got to get winning at that point. But we'll talk about it, obviously. So that's the top 25, realistically, as a whole. For the Big Ten, only 4 teams in there. But anyway, next week I'm sure there'll be 6, and then the following week there'll be 5, and then the next week there'll be 7. Anyway, there's going to be.
Well, what's nice, youngster, though, is that there's now 4 in the top 20.
Yeah.
So we were talking last week where we had 10 in all the poll, including receiving votes, and I believe we only had 2 or 3 in the top 20. There's now 4 in the top 20, so that shows a couple of things, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But they're moving teams in the right direction, and what's happening is what we've talked about for the last couple of weeks. The teams that are now, and I'm going to recategorize this. We used to say 3 through 10, But in my mind, and I'll just throw it out there, Maryland has separated themselves already. So you've got 3 solid teams that, and you can never say they're a lock, but, I mean, the way that these 3 teams are playing, they're going to be in a tournament. Teams 4 through 10, though, Kevin, they're beating each other up. I mean, look at the Ohio State, the Indianas. They're not separating themselves. Thus, you're not going to get love from the pollsters. You're not going to get it. You have to separate yourself if you want to get the votes, a.k.a. Maryland. So that's what's happening, and we said it could be our worst nightmare come March if that's what happens. But right now, that's what you're seeing, and you're going to go over the standings, and you're going to see the damn log jam. And that's a problem if you're trying to get multiple teams into the tournament, at least in my opinion. Take it away.
Yeah, I think top to bottom, you could make an argument for the Big Ten being the top conference. The ACC, I mean, just giving a very quick look at the top 25, like you got Duke, Virginia, and Virginia Tech's actually way up there this year. So, there's 4 teams in the top 11. Outside of that, though, I think Louisville's in there, NC State, the back end of the top 25, Florida State's receiving votes. But it's kind of the same type of thing where you've got 2 really strong teams. You've got a couple other interesting teams for sure. I guess you could make the argument the top of the ACC is better, but
Kevin, you can take a mirror and put those 2 conferences next to each other, and there's a reason they do the ACC Big Ten Challenge in the beginning of the year. In my mind, you've got 2 dominant conferences that the makeup is pretty much the same. You've got your high-quality, high-end teams at the top. You've got a group of 4 to 5, 6 teams in the middle that are possible tournament teams, and then you've got your bottom dwellers. I mean, those conferences honestly mirror each other. Maybe from year to year it might sway as to how many dominant teams are at the top and how many are in that middle and how many are bottom dwellers. But those are 2 conferences that the makeup overall with the number of teams and top to bottom is pretty similar. And they're both very good. And if you want to argue ACC, I'll listen, and I'll even maybe agree with you that the ACC is better. If somebody wants to tell me the Big Ten's better, I can agree with that too. I mean, I like both of these conferences. You're a Duke fan, so you have some vested interest in the ACC. I live in Western PA. I have a vested interest in Pitt. I listen to them. I watch them. They're in the ACC. So I do. I follow both conferences, and they're very similar, and they're very good. Both are very good basketball conferences. That's all I got.
Yeah. I mean, it'll, as always, come down to bid stealers and, do you take the 8th team from the Big Ten or do you take the 5th from the Pac-12? It always comes down to that. But didn't last year for the Big Ten, but last year was kind of a disaster in terms of teams making the NCAA tournament. The teams that did make it, they made pretty good runs. Obviously, Michigan, one of them. But only 4 teams made it last year. That's going to expand this year. That's a guarantee. But how many? We'll obviously see. We are in the latter portion of January now, so we're only about a month and a half to go until basically the end of the regular season. I mean, all these teams have played at least, I guess not all of them, but the majority of them have played at least 7 games. Some of them have played 8. I think Ohio State might be the only one that's played 6. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah. So, I mean, these teams have 12, 13 games.
And they're probably thankful right now they've only played 6 youngsters, the way that they're dropping them.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably want to keep those extra games in their back pocket for when they're playing a little better basketball.
Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do turn around, at least for our show's sake. So Big Ten standings. Michigan State atop the conference right now at 7-0. They're a perfect 7-0. They've won, I don't remember the stat. I remember seeing it for a split second. They've won like 19 straight Big Ten games. That doesn't include Big Ten tournament, but Big Ten regular season, it's something like 19, 17, 18, 19, something like that. Something ridiculous. Michigan State is doing what they need to do. It's almost like Northwestern in football, where you don't think of Northwestern, and, not to compare Michigan State basketball to Northwestern football, but Northwestern football wins, they've won, 13 of the last 14 Big Ten games that are not conference championships because they've gotten to the conference championship this last year. They just win football games these last few years. That's why you hear the rumors of Pat Fitzgerald leaving, but as always, he denies them, and it holds true even to now. So, anyway, Michigan State atop of the conference is 7-0. Maryland is now number 2 only because of the amount of games they've played. In my opinion, they're 7-1. Michigan is 6-1. So Michigan's half a game back. If they play one more and win, they will be tied, obviously. But that's, there's certainly some interesting games coming up this weekend, or this week, that will influence the top of the conference. That's for sure.
It could be another shakeup. Could be a little shakeup going on next week soon.
Yeah, starting with tonight, there is certainly a game to DVR if you're able to, but that game is possibly occurring about 30 minutes after, an hour after we conclude the show. So, unfortunately, the show will be up for viewers to listen too late for that one. But if you're a Big Ten basketball fan and you're listening to the show, then you probably already know that game has gone on and the results and all that good stuff. But I'll keep moving on here. Michigan State 1, Maryland 2, Michigan 3. And then you got Purdue up at 4. They've won 3 straight now. They're 5-2. So this surprises me. I think that coming into the year, Carson Edwards is phenomenal and the most talented player in the conference. But we've talked about Purdue every single week, Troy, and it's more of a one-man show, partially because of how good Carson Edwards is. There's not a disparity bigger than Carson Edwards and the rest of his teammates compared to any other team in this conference, in my opinion, from players most talented to second most talented. But Purdue's winning games, so it doesn't matter how they're doing it, they're winning games. So they're 5-2. They're number 4 in the conference right now. They would be getting a double bye if the Big Ten tournament was to start today. So hats off to Purdue, Troy.
Did you buy some new ones?
Yeah, I did. No, I didn't. But I'll just randomly keep throwing hats around my room, I guess. So we'll be fine. They'll be a little dirty, but the hats will be thrown regardless. So Purdue at 4, Iowa up at 5. Now they've won 5 straight. They started 0-3 in Big Ten play. They're now 5-3. So that's another team really catching fire and doing what they want to do, which is run up and down the court and score 80, 90 points. So that's what they have done this past week, which I will recap very shortly. So I'll recap that in short time here. But biggest winning streaks. I mean, Michigan State's obviously, doing that. And doing that well. But Maryland's won 7 straight. Iowa's won 5 straight. Outside of that, Purdue's playing well. No other team has won more than 1 in a row. So that points to the strength of the middle of the conference, in my opinion. But anyway, Iowa at 5, Minnesota at 6, Wisconsin 7, Nebraska 8, Indiana 9, Ohio State 10. Iowa through Ohio State, so 5 through 10. That makes up 6 teams. Math is weird there because you think 10 minus 5 is 5, but you're also including these numbers. So it's 6 teams there that have either 3 or 4 losses. So Iowa at 5-3, Ohio State all the way down at 2-4. Realistically, 2 games separate those 2 teams as far as the standings go. But really in the loss column, it's 1 game between number 5, Iowa, number 10, Ohio State. And then you've got the bottom dwellers still sitting there at the bottom. I don't think that's going to change all year long. I think these 4 teams will be on the bottom. They may
and poor Penn State hasn't even won a game yet.
Yeah, they are hopefully they will be the last team to do it if they can actually do it. I'm assuming they will. I don't think Penn State is that atrocious, but hopefully they get a Big Ten win at some point here. Northwestern 11, Rutgers 12, Illinois 13, Penn State 14. Northwestern's 2-5, Rutgers 1-6, Illinois 1-6, Penn State 0-8. So Penn State having some troubles, but that's something we figured coming into the year, as well as Northwestern. Rutgers.
I didn't think 0-8 though, youngster.
Yeah, I agree.
I thought they'd have 1 or 2 wins before. At this point in the season, I didn't think they'd have a big goose egger there in the win column. Like you said, I don't think they're that horrendous. But the games I've listened to, and if you listen to the announcers, they sure think they are. And you wonder when your own announcers are saying how poor you're playing, if it's not a self-confidence thing right now with that Penn State team.
Yeah.
Because they do. I mean, they're in the Big Ten. You've got to have some talent. And
I was going to say
they're. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say there are a couple names. Lamar Stevens is averaging 18 and 7. He's definitely their leader as far as production goes. He's good. I mean, I knew of him last year, and he was good. When we liked this Penn State team to make the NCAA tournament, this team had talent a year ago. They lost a couple of those pieces. They didn't lose all of it. Josh Reeves was good a year ago. He's good now. He averages 10 a game. He averages 3 assists a game. He averages over 4 rebounds a game. He's productive, but this team's not winning games. There are guys I can just look at the roster and say, yep, I know that name, I know that name, I know that name, but they're not getting wins. And you look at some of the shooting percentages, and it's like, well, maybe that's why. They're not being efficient offensively. But, yeah, this team is not atrocious. This team belongs with the other teams in this conference. It's not as though Penn State is, they should be shunned from the conference and they have no business being on the same court as these other teams. I don't think that's the case at all.
No, I agree with you. Pulling out the old shun word there.
Shunned.
Getting ready to kick some teams out, youngster.
No. Some people want Rutgers out, but Rutgers can beat Ohio State from time to time.
And here's the thing. Where it's at now, I'm not saying, get out. You know my thought on this. I'm an old school guy. I never thought Rutgers was a good fit to begin with. You pull Penn State in, I was okay with that one. But the Rutgers and, Maryland, I look at it and say, okay, you know what, it's okay. But you look at a Rutgers and athletically, what did they ever do? And when you think of the Big Ten, I mean, oh, man, why? I mean, and in my mind, they needed to have another team. They needed some money. They needed some revenue. They needed a media market. Oh, let's choose Rutgers. Oh, that didn't work out so well, at least in my mind.
No, yeah, I would agree with that. I think Rutgers fans have to agree with that. And I don't know how I don't know any Rutgers fans. I know of fans from almost every single fan base over the last few years working, writing about the Big Ten, talking about the Big Ten. I know fans that watch these teams, religiously for the most part. I don't know any Rutgers fans. I don't know how they feel, honestly, about being in the Big Ten and being kind of a doormat in football and in basketball, and Rutgers obviously is phenomenal at some other sports. Lacrosse comes to mind. But as far as the big boys, football and basketball, that people watch and bring in television money and ratings for, that matters. So if you're not producing on the field football-wise or on the court basketball-wise, it's kind of hard. I'd be interested to if we put out a poll, Troy, on @YoungsterOldMan, that's our Twitter handle. If you follow that account and you vote in a poll saying, hey, as a Rutgers fan, how do you feel about being in the Big Ten? How do you feel these last X amount of years have gone for you? Because obviously football and basketball-wise, you're not producing. That's just a fact. That's not bashing on Rutgers. That's just a fact. It's a fact that Ohio State is dominant in football. It's a fact that Ohio State is not as dominant in basketball. That's a fact that Michigan State basketball is always dominant. I mean, that's just a fact. But so it'd be interesting. You can obviously have people say, and vote in there, well, this has been a disaster. That's because you want Rutgers out of the conference. So there's no real way to, you'd have to basically email out to Rutgers alumni. But I'd be interested to hear the whole Rutgers fan base and, honestly, what you think of being in the Big Ten and producing this poorly in men's basketball and football. So anyway, just a random little thought that crossed my mind. But would be interested to hear. Those are the standings, though. Not going to read over them again, but I will start recapping this past week's play. There were certainly some interesting games starting on Monday the 14th. We record the show on Monday as always, so we're recording this on the 21st, but going back a week to the 14th, Maryland beat Wisconsin at home 64-60, and that score could not be any
more deceiving. Yeah, it's deceiving.
And not necessarily deceiving, but just like Maryland dominated the first half, and Wisconsin dominated the second half.
They dominated so much, youngster, that I went to bed at halftime.
Right.
It was that porous of
Maryland was
the
up.
Badgers.
Maryland was up 20 in the first half. I texted Troy like the day after because I recorded it, and I texted him like, well, Maryland looks like they could compete with Michigan State. They look as good as anyone in this conference. They were up 20 when I sent that text. And then halftime happened, and Wisconsin scored 45 in the second half, and Wisconsin led with like a minute and a half to go. Then Maryland got the lead back and survived a three-point shot from Wisconsin at the end of the game and won the game. I mean, so this game you could say was close, I guess, but it was really just which team dominated which half more. That's literally all it was. And Maryland, again, survived a three-point shot from Wisconsin at the end of the game. Got fouled, made the difference 4. But that was this game. Maryland was up 20.
Yeah, and almost because of that game, youngster, me and my superstitions, I was like, maybe I shouldn't watch the Badgers anymore. When I watch them, they play like crap. So when Saturday rolled around, we're going to get to that game, I almost didn't watch that game. Almost didn't. And then when they started playing poorly, I actually got up and made a sandwich.
Well, maybe the sandwich was the key. Maybe that's the key to Wisconsin's success.
Could be. A little bologna sandwich.
Yeah. When Maryland is hitting on all cylinders, they can play with any team in the country. I 100% believe that. I don't think at their best they beat Michigan. I don't think I don't think when Michigan is at its best that Maryland beats them. I don't think when Michigan State is at its best that Maryland beats them. Same thing with, other teams I've mentioned, Duke, Gonzaga, those teams before. But Maryland, when playing their best, can beat Duke on basically any given night. Duke has to play really well if Maryland's playing their best basketball. Maryland is very talented. They're young, but they've got NBA talent for sure. They've got really good guards. They've got an NBA big. They're good. They've got guys that can shoot threes. They're very good. In the second half, they obviously didn't look very good in this game, but that's with any college basketball team from 18 and 19-year-olds that they're going to look like crap for a half. I mean, Michigan will do it. Michigan State will do it, where they look like crap for a half. And it's like, really? This team's arguably the best team in the Big Ten? But at some point they figure it out and they eventually win the game more often than not.
Well, here's what happens, Kevin, with a lot of young kids, and I'll relate it to my coaching. When you get up big like that, I always talk about keep your foot on their throat, keep your foot on the pedal, just, pound the nail in the coffin.
Right.
Well, I also have to put myself into that situation as a young kid when I was an athlete. When things are going easy and everything is working well, it's very easy to become lax. It is very easy for that light switch to go off. The problem in athletics, when the light switch goes off, it's almost, I don't want to say it's impossible. It's very hard to turn it back on because all of a sudden go ahead.
I was going to say part of it is because the other team gains confidence, and it's like, wait a minute, we can play with you and we can beat you. Let's just look at the last 10 minutes when we've outscored you by 15. So part of it is just the other team's full belief.
Yeah, and that's why when you're in a game and you're a team that should win, you can't let up. But again, it's human nature when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, when things are going well, to be like, oh, it's just going to be like this for the whole game. So blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, like you said, other team gets a steal, gets a dunk, gets a three-pointer. Boom. Look at this. We can play. Now you've turned the light switch on, and look, we're guarding the light switch. You're not going to be able to turn it back on. That's, with Wisconsin, they tale of two halves.
Yeah. it's so easy nowadays, especially because of how well players shoot the three ball, to go on a quick 8-0 run in 40 seconds. You make 2 threes, you get a steal and a dunk, boom. Momentum is all the way in your favor now in a matter of 40 seconds. A 14-point lead can go down to 6 in less than a minute. I mean, now so more than ever because of how well a versatile amount of players can shoot the three ball. So it doesn't take much. Wisconsin had a very nice run in the second half, a pretty quick one, and it's like, oh my God, Wisconsin's back in this game. And eventually the minutes kept going, and Wisconsin was playing better than Maryland, and it just turned into a Wisconsin lead with a little over a minute left. But yeah, so that was that game. I wanted to talk more about that game because that was certainly an interesting one and one that I watched from start to finish. So can't say that I watch all these games from start to finish. Got to be honest with you. If I'm paid to do this show, and different story, then I'll DVR everything. I'll watch everything. But
one day,
until that happens,
one day.
Also on Monday night, Nebraska went to Indiana and basically beat the crap out of them. They won 66-51. I mean, that's
nonchalant. Yeah, beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, they did. I mean, to go to Indiana and only give up 51 points, Indiana wants to get up and down the court. They want to, score points. Nebraska held them to 51 at Indiana. That's impressive. I think Nebraska is much better than what are they, 3-4 in conference? I think they're a lot better than 3-4 in conference. I think they're better than Purdue, and Purdue's 5-2. I believe that 100%. So I think highly of Nebraska basketball. I don't think they're as good as Michigan, Michigan State, Maryland, but right after that, I think they're better than Iowa, honestly. So I don't know. Anyway, that's just me, but I think highly of Nebraska. Nothing else to say of that game really for me. Tuesday, Purdue was at home to Rutgers. They won by 35 points.
Only 35.
Yeah, only 35. Rutgers played well. They only lost by 35. Terrible. But
well, what I want to say about that game, Kevin, though, is what we just talked about maybe 10 minutes ago. Purdue is not the juggernaut that they were a couple years ago, but this is a game that they knew that we're going to win this game, and they just never let up. They just continued to play. Yeah. I mean, 35 points, it seems embarrassing. No. I think it's always funny, Kevin, because people will say, well, they can call the dogs up. You know what? Why?
They were only up 10 at halftime.
Yeah.
They won the second half by 25. So this game, I don't know the ups and downs of the game and the game flow and, when they got up by 20, but it was in the second half. I mean, at halftime, they were only up 10. So they really went to it in the second half. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and again, I look at these scores and these blowouts, and some people say, well, they'll get on the side of everyone deserves a trophy. No, there's no sport. I shouldn't say it that way. I don't want to say that word because then people will be like, oh, the old man is a grouch. When you compete, you're there to win. And there's, you know what? I can be a good sport about it. It's different if you're flaunting. It's different if you're taunting. But if you're just out there playing your game, scoring points, and you're not letting up, I don't have a problem with that. I've been on both sides of that, youngster. And as long as there is sportsmanship in there and you're not doing it in a demeaning way and you're not taunting and you're just playing your game and you're that much better, it's a game. And guess what? If you're not as talented to be on the court, so be it. You know what? Yeah. Game's over. Take your sneakers off and go get ready for the next one. But I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the blowouts. I've been blown out as an athlete many times myself and as a coach. Yeah. And I had never, people would apologize in soccer. Like I told you the story of when I coached and transitioned to school from D3 to D2, and we lost the game 8-0. That is a major butt whooping in soccer. That is look, we're going to whoop your butt then we're going to throw it off the cliff. We're going to go down and grab it again. And we're going to whoop it again. That's how bad it is. And coaches would apologize. And I'm like, hey, you guys play. You don't need to apologize to me. We're not as talented as you. There's no need to apologize.
Yeah.
It's a game. You kept playing. You never let us get into the game. And as a player and as a coach, that is the whole purpose of playing the game, to win. You don't need to take it easy on us. I don't want you to take it easy on us. Go out and play. And so I never think there should be an apology. Like, Purdue shouldn't apologize for beating Rutgers by 35 points. They played a game and they won. There's my little rant for the show. Because it just irks me when people say, oh, got to apologize. No, why apologize? It's a game. They shouldn't be on the same court. There, said it. Done. Over. Move on.
Yep. Wednesday night, Iowa went to Penn State and won 89-82. That's exactly how Iowa wants to win. Iowa has shooters, and they want to utilize those shooters. They made 12 threes in the game. Penn State also made 12 threes, not as efficiently. But, at the end of the day, it's a 7-point game. Penn State was actually up at half. So this is kind of classic how Iowa wants to, not necessarily that Iowa wants to play bad defense, but Iowa's going to give up points because they want to go up and down the court and shoot 64 times. That's what they did in this game. So they shot 28 threes. Penn State was right there with them. They shot 35, actually. But
that's a lot of three-pointers to be shooting in a game, especially against a team that wants to live like that.
Right. Yeah.
But I will do this, youngster. I'm going to borrow one of your hats. And I'm going to actually, believe it or not, I just talked about the poorest Penn State record, but I'm actually going to throw your hat for Penn State to be hanging in that game, to score 82 points. I know it's against Iowa, and it's not a great defense, but I talked about maybe there's a self-confidence issue, but putting up 82 points in a Big Ten game,
right?
Like you said, it wasn't great shooting from the outside, but they hung in there. They scored a lot of points. If I'm a shooter and I'm a player, okay, we didn't win that game, and maybe we didn't have the best shooting percentage, but we scored 82 points.
Yeah,
that's a lot of points
they shot
in a basketball game.
Yeah, they shot fine. I mean, and from the field, they were close to 50% overall from the field. So they had a good shooting night overall. They just couldn't play defense against a team that wants to run up and down the court and shoot. So there's a reason why Iowa wants to do that, because they've got shooters. So it's understandable. But yeah, I'm 100% with you that, that you can't fault yourself for losing, when you score 82 points. Obviously your defense has to play better, but that's just part of who you're playing. So yeah, things you could have lost by 35. Just look at it that way. Also, Wednesday night, Illinois beat Minnesota. Illinois was at home in this game, but Illinois won the game by 27 points. When I saw the final score of that one, I was like, wow. It was 95-68, and Illinois wants to beat Iowa. Basically, they want to run up and down the court and shoot and score points. That's how they recruit.
We talked about that last year, about the style. Is that style of play going to work in the Big Ten?
Right.
Teams are showing that it can. Yeah.
Right.
Iowa's proving it. We'll see how the longevity lasts throughout the year, because you're going to have to play some good defensive teams like Wisconsin. Michigan State's even pretty good defensively. Michigan's awesome defensively. We'll see how long it lasts as far as the success goes. But as far as what they want to do, they're sticking to their identity. We've talked about it. No matter what sport we say, Kevin, you have to have an identity, and you have to live to your identity. That's what Iowa wants to do. That's what Illinois wants to do. Illinois is not quite as talented as Iowa right now, but, man, they sure put a whooping on Minnesota. They just whooped them. And when your shot's going down, when you want to play like that, you're going to have games like this where you put 90 spots on the board. Good for Illinois. They're not going to do it every game.
No. No, they won't. But they got their first conference win. They shot 50% from three, 56% from the field. Hard to lose when you shoot 56% from the field. That's usually a recipe for success. They had 14 players playing this game. 14. 11 of them played at least 6 minutes. So 3 of them were, absolute garbage time. But Illinois wants to go through bodies. They want to be up-tempo. They want to wear you out. And that's kind of what they did in this game. And obviously, they shot well. So that's going to help you if you're a team that wants to run up and down the court and you're shooting well. You're going to score in the 90s. That's just the way it goes. So Thursday night was a big night for me. I wanted to watch Michigan State, Nebraska. I did. I also DVR'd that one, using my DVR a lot lately this past week.
Well, you got multiple DVRs in your little case there, don't you?
I do, yeah. So it's good for me. But I called before this game. I said, you know what, I'll throw it out there on Twitter. Nebraska is going to beat Michigan State. They didn't. Michigan State won the game 70-64. So, Nebraska, I was very high on Nebraska going into that game. I knew that Joshua Langford wasn't in the game. I think Kyle Ahrens also wasn't playing in this game. And that's another Michigan State contributor. He's not a star like Josh Langford is, but he is certainly a contributor for this team. He's also been out the last few games. So I thought Nebraska at home would win this game. I thought Nebraska was playing really well. I thought they'd be at home. I thought Michigan State wouldn't be at 100%. And that was all true, but Michigan State won the game. 70-64. They were up 10. It was a very close game throughout, but then Michigan State went on a little run. They boosted their lead to like 10, and that was kind of it in the second half. But Nebraska played them tough. But at the end of the day, if you want to beat Michigan State, you should do it now.
You can't get down by double digits to Sparty. That Tom Izzo coach team, you get down by double digits, you're done. Very rare are they going to blow a double-digit lead unless they're playing against another elite team.
Yeah. Nebraska was shooting atrociously in the first half. In this entire game, they shot 32% from the field, 19% from 3. They still only lost by 6. Again, it was a close game. They played defense really well in this game. Michigan State shot like crap as well. So, I mean, it just came down to Michigan State pulling a little run in the second half to be enough, really, is what it came down to. This game was close throughout.
And isn't that the identity of Michigan State, though, youngster? They'll just sit in there. They'll take punches. They'll throw punches. They'll go toe-to-toe with you round by round, minute by minute. And then, bam, you turn your head for 2 seconds and they're up by 10.
Yeah. Yep. And I want to say this, Cassius Winston with 29 points in this game. That's a career high. He had 6 assists as well. He, from last year to this year, has become so much more of a scorer, and part of it is Josh Langford is this team's leading scorer. In terms of if everyone's healthy, who's going to score the most points on average, it's going to be Langford. He showed that when he was healthy this year. He's going to be coming back. It's just a matter of when. But Winston has really, he's scoring like 20 a night. And 29 in this game was enormous. He was huge in this game. So he is more of a distributor than anything. But if asked to score, if needed to score, he's showing he can. And that's going to bode well in March, I think, for Michigan State. I think being without Josh Langford for quite a few games now, it's just getting the most out of Kenny Goins and Nick Ward and Henry, a freshman, and McQuaid and Winston and all these guys getting minutes. It's going to help in the long term. This team is really, really, really good. Offensively, defensively, they're really good. And they're beating other good teams right now on the road when they're not shooting well without their leading scorer. I mean, that it doesn't get much more impressive than that.
No, and you always need another guy. You need another guy to step up. Even if you have and we talk about Carson Edwards all the time, you need to have other scorers. Wisconsin, outside of Happ, you need to have other guys that are going to step up and score buckets. You can't put all your eggs into that one player. You need compliments, and you need guys that you can trust with the rock in a key situation when you need points. And we're going to talk Michigan, Wisconsin soon. And there's somebody I want to talk about that if you look at the stat line, doesn't look that impressive, but made a huge shot in the second half. That was a very big confidence builder and maybe a deflator for Michigan. So carry on, my friend.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference between watching the game and looking at a box score, 100%. But Friday, moving on to Friday, Maryland went to Ohio State, won by 14 points. They won both halves. Bruno Fernando on the inside, 13 points, 15 rebounds. Maryland was just too much. They're the better team. That was obvious throughout the night. Maryland is, I think, firmly the third best team in this conference. But Wisconsin showed that they could beat them for sure. They were beating them 39 minutes into the game. So Maryland's obviously beatable by teams in the middle tier. And not to say that they're so much above Wisconsin or so much above other teams in the middle, but they have firmly put themselves in the 3 spot. And if you look at the standings, they're number 2. So Maryland's just playing really well right now. They're very talented. They're a good team. They can be beat, obviously, but they're a very good team for sure. That's why they're up to number 13 in the country right now. So good for Maryland, going to Ohio State, getting a double-digit win there. Also Friday night, Northwestern went to Rutgers and won 65-57.
Did you DVR that one?
I did not. I know nothing of this game other than the box score. Got to be honest. Got to be honest with you. Not going to lie to the listeners. I didn't watch Northwestern Rutgers. So
I'm not lying either. I just thought maybe you would have DVR'd a Northwestern Rutgers game.
No, I do really, seriously, I do want to watch a full Rutgers game. I do want to watch a full, all these teams. I want to watch them in full at some point, and I will. But Northwestern Rutgers was not one of those. Unfortunately, but
you could have got 2 at the price of 1 at that point.
I know that's the type of game you want to watch. Both those teams, realistically. Anyway, Saturday to get things moving here. I know we've already been almost close to an hour now on the show. Get things moving, but this game we'll talk about for a bit. Wisconsin at home against Michigan. Wisconsin won 64-54. I know you wanted to point out some things, Troy. Michigan held a 2-point lead at halftime. Wisconsin obviously dominated the second half. Wisconsin, Ethan Happ, you can tell from just a box score, 26 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. And I saw the highlights as well. But he seemed to be unstoppable in this game. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Michigan's leading scorer, Brazdeikis, he had 0 points in this game. He was their leading scorer going into this game. He had 0 points. So, shows you what Wisconsin did defensively.
Yeah, Wisconsin can play good defense, youngster. But here's the thing. Early in that game, if you remember the tweet I put out, the Badgers 5 minutes in had like 5 points or 6 points, or 2 points maybe. It wasn't much. They weren't doing it. They were playing good defense, and I think I tweeted out if it stays at this pace, it's going to be a 40-16 win for Michigan. Because offensively, and I joked about it, I said these offenses are out of this world, literally out of this world, because neither of them could get anything going.
Yeah.
But that goes to show you what happens when you have 2 good defensive teams battling.
Right.
That can happen. Well, I want to point out, as much as the attention was given to Happ, you got to have a guy that is confident, that can take the ball and is willing, not hesitant, to put the ball up. And if you've got the game up, Kevin, what was Trice's line for this game?
He only shot 2 of 10 in this game.
2 of 10.
He had 6 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. I mean, stat-wise, that looks pretty bad.
Yeah. And this is where, like you said, if you just look at box scores, you're going to say, man, Trice didn't have a good game. I'd like to argue that point. You're playing against Michigan. You're not going to have a good night. Ethan Happ did. He was inside, and he battled inside and got boards and played good defense. Trice is a guard. And against that defense, you're probably not going to have a good day, just like any other guard in the Big Ten. But
in the country. You can go to Duke and talk about their guards, and Duke against Michigan, Duke's guards are not going to go off against Michigan. There's no guard in the country that's going to go off and score 30 efficiently. No one's going to do that. So
not against that defense. So this is why I want to argue that point. You look at the stat line, you're like, man, Trice is terrible. No, Trice is not terrible. Trice is the complement to Happ because late in the second half, and the Badgers are making that mini run, who had the ball? Trice, and he made one of his 2 shots. That's all it takes. Doesn't matter that he missed 6 in a row before that. The guy got the ball, didn't hesitate, and put up a little jump shot, bam. And that crowd went wild because everything was collapsing on Happ. And you're not going to force the ball in there, and all of a sudden Michigan's like, well, you're not going to beat us anymore. Somebody else better make a shot. Trice makes a shot. And you know what? He didn't have to score 20 points. It only took that one shot, Kevin, because guess what? Next possession, is Happ double-teamed? No, because now there's a threat that there's another guy that can make a shot. And what happens? Happ scores. That is why you need a guy that can shoot the ball to take pressure off of your guy, your number 1 guy. And again, Trice's line sucked. It was terrible. Yeah. But he made a big shot late in the second half, and that's all it takes. And I'll say this, youngster, I am a Badger fan, and I'm not being biased. Maybe this is the game they needed to get some of that mojo back at home, because I just went off on them last week that they got to stop losing at home. And I didn't think they'd win this game. As a fan, had on my Wisconsin sweatshirt, my red sweatshirt that says Wisconsin Badgers on it, and I was into the game. And like I said, they started playing like crap, and I made a bologna sandwich. I really did. Because it was terrible. I couldn't watch it. And I was sarcastically tweeting out 5 minutes into the game, it's going to be 40-16. They couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And it just looked like Michigan's defense was going to suffocate them. But maybe this is a game that they needed to maybe pull out of the middle of the pack. Because like you said earlier in the week against Maryland, I went to bed. Because, again, it was porous. They looked like crap in the first half. Yeah. And then they came back and played a really good second half. Started off slow against Michigan, but a lot of teams start off slow against Michigan. Got into the flow of the game. Had somebody other than Happ score a couple points here and there to get some of the pressure off of him, and he just put up monster numbers. And then they could feed him the ball. Let him play under the hoop. But you can't do that if there's not other guys that are going to make a shot here and there. And that's why I want to steal another one of your hats and throw it at Mr. Trice. Made a big shot late in that game to take some of the pressure off Happ. So you didn't have to just go down in your offensive set, try to feed the ball to Happ, watch Michigan's defense collapse on him. No. He pulled up, made a big shot, and he went to the line a couple times too, which is good also. So that's all I want to say on that game, my friend.
Yeah. I won't add anything. I'll move on. I'll move on. Be quick. Purdue beat Indiana as well. Purdue was at home Saturday and won that game 70-55. Indiana, not a good week this past week. Not scoring as you would assume Indiana would score because they've got scorers. They've got talent. And Romeo Langford had 4 points in this game. He's probably going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. So Purdue certainly did their job defensively. Carson Edwards had 20, as he always does, but he wasn't even efficient in this game. They still won by 15. Indiana's just not scoring like they want to. Minnesota was at home against Penn State. Minnesota won 65-64. I can't say that I know exactly what happened at the end of the game. I did not watch the game, but Minnesota basically won the second half. Penn State won the first half. Again, Penn State 1 point away from winning a road game on the Big Ten against Minnesota, who was 13-4. So Minnesota's not bad. They're certainly an average Big Ten team. Penn State almost went on the road and won. Again, Penn State's not bad. They're really not. Jordan Murphy in this game had 19 points, 21 rebounds, 6 assists. That's absurd. Very talented player. Minnesota's got a couple of them. Penn State's got a couple of them as well. But Minnesota ended up winning the game by 1. But, again, Penn State's not terrible. Last time I'll talk about Penn State not being terrible on this show. And Sunday, last day before previewing next week's action, which we'll do quickly. We know the show is getting It is now an hour long. Iowa also at home against Illinois on Sunday. Iowa won the game by 24. Again, they scored 95 points. That's exactly what Iowa wants to do, is score 95 points. So they were in control throughout this game. There was never a doubt about this game. But Monday, as we're recording the show, biggest game you can arguably ask for in the Big Ten at this point. Maryland going on the road to Michigan State. That starts in an hour from now, Troy, as we're recording this podcast. Michigan State at home against Maryland. I mean, we'll obviously see what happens from a health perspective, and we'll obviously diagnose and talk about this game more in depth on next week's show when it is concluded. But Michigan State right now, if they're not at 100% and Maryland brings it, Maryland could obviously win on the road.
This would be a huge game for Maryland to be able to steal.
Yeah.
If they could steal this game, wow, that would be quite a win. Now, you're going to Michigan State to play, and I know they're not 100%. But if Maryland loses this game, Kevin, I'm still not. They could lose by 15, and I'm still probably not going to change my tune that they've separated themselves.
No.
This is a big stage right now, though, for Maryland. And this is one of those games where, okay, you've taken care of the guys in the middle of the pack. You've separated yourself. Do you belong in the top of the conference? Because if you remember when you did, I liked how you did it last year, not this year on the preview show, but last year, we separated the conference actually into the top tier and then like right below the top tier, then the middle of the pack teams.
Yep.
And right now, Maryland's staying in that kind of like that middle, just under the top tier, but not really in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, the upper middle tier. Yeah, that's where
they could thrust themselves, though, into that upper tier with a win.
Yeah, they'd be a top 10 team.
It's going to be interesting to watch this one.
Yeah, I will be watching that one fully. If Maryland gets the upset on the road here, they're a top 10 team next week, guaranteed. Nebraska on the road against Rutgers won't be DVR in that one. Got to be honest with you. I expect Nebraska to take care of business even on the road there. Tuesday, Michigan at home against Minnesota. Not much to say. Minnesota's got talent. Could they pull an upset? It's possible, but Michigan's at home. They should take care of business. Northwestern at home against
and they're coming off a loss.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for Minnesota. I mean, you put 65 up against Penn State. Come on now. I mean, I know the Badgers got 64 on Michigan, but they had to work for all 64. There's a difference between scoring 64 against Michigan and 65 against Penn State. I hope Minnesota's ready to bring it, because you're going on the road to Michigan after they just lost. And it wasn't an embarrassing loss, but it was a loss, and they were undefeated at that point, and it cost them a number 1 ranking in the country. You know that they're going to want to redeem themselves. So I kind of feel bad for Minnesota.
Can't disagree with you. Northwestern at home against Indiana as well Tuesday night. This will be interesting to see if Indiana can get back on track from that perspective. If you're looking for storylines, Indiana's been playing like crap. So no better time to do it than against Northwestern. We'll see if Indiana drops that one next week. Ohio State on Wednesday is at home against Purdue. Another option for Ohio State to get back on the right track here at home against a team that's playing well, but probably talent-wise, right on par with Ohio State. Ohio State's got more good players than Purdue does, but Purdue's winning games. Ohio State's not. That's.
I'm going to tell you, youngster, the two teams you just mentioned, Indiana and Ohio State, they drop these games, and all of a sudden we may have to all of a sudden eliminate them from that 10 teams that we thought were NCAA capable.
Right.
Because
they
at
may
that
become
point,
lower middle tier. Middle tier teams.
Yeah, might have to make a new tier. Just because you're going to look at it, if they lose those games, they're so far behind the 8 ball to get into the tournament.
Yep. Yeah, agreed 100%.
Must win games in the middle of the conference season already.
for sure. Illinois at home against Wisconsin, also Wednesday night. Wisconsin should take care of business, but contrast of two styles in this one, especially Illinois at home. They'll feel comfortable. They'll want to get up and down the court. They won't be able to, but they will want to push the pace. It'll be an interesting game to watch from that perspective.
And like I just said about Michigan being at home, wanting to redeem themselves, human nature is coming off a big win at home against a top-ranked team. Is there going to be a letdown? And I've been a Badger fan for many, 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 many moons. I sure hope this is not the upset. I really hope it's not the upset youngster.
Yeah.
But think about it. You come off a huge win. And a close, I mean, it was a close loss to Maryland. Like I said, first half was terrible. But is this that game that is that upset game of the week? There seems to be one every week. And as a Badger fan, I sure hope it's not. But it very well could be.
Mm-hmm. One of them could be Thursday. Iowa's at home against Michigan State. Iowa's playing really well. They're scoring a lot. And Michigan State kind of wants to get up and down the court as well, not probably as much without the leading scorer, but he could be back for this game, Langford. I don't know that yet. But Thursday night, Michigan State at Iowa, that'll be an interesting one to watch. That'll be the first game I see Iowa completely for 40 minutes because I want to watch that one. That's Thursday night on Netflix.
For Iowa, Kevin, this is kind of like an early Christmas present because you have Michigan State battling on Monday night against Maryland. And then they got to turn around and play on Thursday. I mean,
two tough games.
Maryland itself is a tough game, and then all of a sudden you got to turn around and play again on Thursday. Whew. So Iowa is actually getting them at a good time, where they're coming off of what should be a pretty intense game on Monday night. So they've got to recover from that one, turn around, and then they play Iowa. So Iowa might have them at the right time. And it doesn't. Again, it's not even going to matter what the outcome of tonight's Monday night game is. It's going to be a tough game. And now they've got to turn around and play Iowa. So I wanted to throw that out there.
Yep, I agree with you 100% there. Could be some shakeup, a lot of shakeup atop the conference depending on what happens. Some interesting games throughout the week. Friday, Michigan travels to Indiana. That shouldn't be a cupcake game either for Michigan. But, again, Indiana's struggling scoring. And if you want to start scoring well, you don't want to play Michigan.
You're struggling scoring, so let's go play against Michigan. That'll get us out of our offensive woes real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Not exactly what Indiana wants to face. But Michigan, Michigan should go 2-0 this week. Could be a huge upset.
It is a rival game, though, Kevin. Michigan, Indiana, that's a big rival. And it only takes coming into that game for Indiana to hit maybe their first 3-pointer or their second 3-pointer and to get some confidence, and then all of a sudden it's amazing how basketball is. You were a basketball player for a lot longer than I was. I didn't play competitively like you did. I played a little here and there. But when you hit that first shot and your confidence level just goes to the moon. And vice versa, when you're not scoring, that hoop seems so small. It's like you have to be so precise. But then you hit a few shots, and, man, that basket looks as big as a lake. So, if Indiana can go out and maybe hit a couple shots and get some of that confidence back, maybe they can do some damage. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're talented enough to score. They're just not the last couple of weeks. That's just the way but shooters keep shooting, so we'll see if they get hot on Friday. On Saturday, there are not these huge matchups like we're accustomed to, but regardless, Maryland at home against Illinois. Maryland should take care of business. Nebraska at home against Ohio State, probably the most intriguing matchup on Saturday. Again, Nebraska's the better team, and I think at home they will prove that against Ohio State at noon. It could be an interesting little upset there for Ohio State. Ohio State has a shot to get back on track.
Or it could be another loss for Ohio State, and we throw them into the bottom dweller tier.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we may be adding a tier.
throw them from the added tier. If they lose 2 this week, all of a sudden into the bottom dweller, because that'll put them at what, 2 and 6, 2 and 7,
2 and 6,
2 and 6, and done.
2 and 6. Yeah. I would agree with that. Wisconsin also at home against Northwestern. Wisconsin's the better team. They're at home. They should win. But we'll obviously see. Saturday afternoon. Yeah. Not a gimme. There's no gimmies in this conference. As Wisconsin found out last year, as Ohio State has found out this year, there's no gimmies. But Wisconsin should perform well at the Kohl Center against Northwestern. Penn State at home against Rutgers. Penn State at home against Rutgers Saturday. That's the last game for the Big Ten on Saturday.
Oh, my. Believe it or not, this is an intriguing game for me, youngster. I actually want to try to watch some of this. Because Penn State should win the game.
I believe that. Penn State should win this game. They should get their first win in the Big Ten.
Well, what if they don't? What if Rutgers gets their second win? I mean, there's some intrigue here. It's really intriguing to me.
This is the most winnable game.
Win.
I was going to say it's the most winnable game for Penn State this entire year in the Big Ten. You're getting Rutgers at home. There's no more easier opponent at home that you could ask for. That's just a fact. So,
and on the flip side, if you're Rutgers, Kevin, you're looking at it going, man, this could be win number 2 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Both teams are going to play with some intensity. That's why I think this is actually probably going to be a pretty good game. Throw the names out. Throw it. And that's the thing. We go over this and people are like, oh, Penn State, Rutgers, who cares? Throw the names out. Throw the school names out and just watch the basketball. I bet you it's going to be some really darn good basketball. Yeah, I don't care if it's Rutgers versus Penn State. If you're a basketball fan and like the game of basketball, I think it's going to be a pretty good game, Kevin.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that 100%. Sunday, 2 games to wrap it up. Purdue at home against Michigan State will be interesting. Again, Michigan State's obviously better, but Carson Edwards against Michigan State and Carson Edwards, will be at home in this game. It's funny that I'm saying Carson Edwards is going to be at home in this game. But Purdue will be comfortable, and they've got scorers, they've got shooters. But it's Carson Edwards against this defense, and, again, they've got a couple other shooters at Purdue, but it's going to be a tall task. But they'll be rocking on Sunday afternoon against Michigan State. That's for sure. That would be a nice upset for Purdue, and Purdue could be 6-2, 7-2 coming out of this week in conference if all goes perfect.
And Michigan State with a rare 3 games in 1 week.
Yeah.
That's a lot of games. That's a lot of games in 6 days, youngster.
That's how we're getting to a 20-game. That's how we get to a 20-game schedule. Sometimes there's going to be busy weeks, and Michigan State's not getting any easy ones.
No. It's not like they got a Penn State, Rutgers, and Northwestern in there. They get a Maryland, Iowa, and Purdue. Teams
They've
right
got
below
no
them.
Bottom dwellers. All 3 of those teams are above 500 in conference.
They're right below them. Right below them, looking up. I'll tell you what. Next week on the show, I don't think it's going to happen. But what if we were on this show next week, and all of a sudden Michigan State has 3 conference losses?
That'd be interesting. I think it would.
That would be very interesting.
I'd be kind of surprised if they go perfect, especially if Josh Langford is missing some of these games. To go 3-0 and have a few road games against good teams, and if Langford's missing 2 of the 3 of these games, I'd be surprised if Michigan State's 10-0 in conference next week.
No,
I'm not going to.
Just like I said last week when you asked me the question, I think there's going to be a blemish in one of these 3. And to be honest, it's not really a blemish because these are 3 good teams.
Right.
But I think there's a loss in here somewhere. And
I agree.
They might take care of business against Maryland tonight. They got an Iowa team where maybe they could take care of it. But then all of a sudden you got Purdue, and that's your 3rd game in 6 days. That's a tough road. Yeah,
back-to-back roadies, good scorers. It's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting. That's a game to watch Sunday afternoon. Also Sunday night, Minnesota hosting Iowa. That'll be interesting because Minnesota's not that far off from Iowa, but Iowa's been playing better. Minnesota's still 4-3 in conference, by the way. So they laid a dud, but they're still 4-3 in conference, and they'll be at home against Iowa. So that'll be a good basketball game to watch as well. Not as highlighted as Michigan State and some of their games this week, but Iowa at Minnesota Sunday night to close it out for the week will be good basketball to watch.
Well, we even said Rutgers-Penn State's going to be a good game. There's always good basketball in the Big Ten. What else you got, youngster? We're going to let the listeners go.
I've got nothing. I'm done. Done for this week.
All right. Thanks for listening in, everybody. For the youngster, I am the old man. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Youngster Old Man. Is our show handle. The youngster is at Kid Cunny. The man, that's Roy Robert 967. Hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll get back at you next week, same place, same time. Have a good one.